What's going on, guys? Back here with another video today. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the first or best mods that you can do to your Ford Lightning or Harley truck. Basically, maybe you just got the truck and you want to start modding it, or maybe you already have started modding it, but you can still use this video for reference because maybe I will mention something that you didn't think about, or maybe you forgot, and you can go from there. I'm going to be listing all the mods I think you should do first to your truck in order from most important, the first thing I would do, and so on. We'll go over the pricing, the things you'll need in order to do said mod, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and jump right into this video, guys. Okay, first and foremost, maintenance. You have to do all the maintenance first. I actually made a video about that, and I will put a card in the top corner and a link in the description, so make sure you go check that video out first and make sure you've done all the maintenance that I've listed there. But first mod I would do to your truck is a set of long bars, traction bars, whatever you want to call them, and a drive shaft safety loop. I consider that one mod because they're both extremely important, and it's kind of the same deal. I mean, they're both in the same area, they're under the truck. And basically, traction bars are not only going to be very good for traction, they're going to help prevent wheel hop and axle twist, but the second thing is the most important, that axle twist. Not only is this a good mod for traction, but it's really important for safety. Without long bars, your axle can twist quite a bit, and I've seen a lot of drive shafts pop out, cause a lot of damage, and it's just something you don't want to have happen. So the first thing I recommend on these trucks, all the time, most often overlooked, get a set of long bars or traction bars, whatever you want to call them, same thing, and a drive shaft safety loop. Super important, guys. And links to everything that I list will also be in the description of the video. Links, pricing, all that stuff in the description. But long bars, traction bars, super important. Number one, first thing I always do to these trucks. Now the second mod I recommend, and this kind of goes with the maintenance video. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check it out, because I mentioned pulling the blower and cleaning your intercooler. Now that's not the mod, but what you can do, you can mod while you do that. When you pull the blower to clean your intercooler, take your blower and send it to Joker's. Have him port it, maybe rebuild it, probably a good idea, that'd be a little more maintenance-y. But he does everything so he can rebuild it, all new bearings and everything, and have it ported. Porting the blower is a pretty good mod. You can pick up 30 to 40 wheel horsepower with a good port, and Joker's is the man to do it. So while it's off, if you're already there cleaning your intercooler, make sure you do that. Do not skip that. Don't just start with the mods. Do your maintenance, clean the intercooler, super important and critical to these trucks. But while it's off, send that sucker to Joker's, have it ported, get yourself 30, 40 wheel horsepower, and make that sucker scream. So make sure you do that. That's the second mod I recommend. Now that brings us to mod number 3, and this is probably the one that's going to wake your truck up the most. It is the biggest bang for your buck, and that is a pulley. You want to up the boost on that blower, give it some more boost, and you do that by swapping the pulley. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of changing the upper pulley to a smaller diameter upper pulley. You can pick up 2 pounds of boost, but I don't recommend. I recommend you leaving the upper alone and do a bigger lower. Now, most go with a 4 to 6 pound lower pulley. If you're running a Lightning, Harley runs 2 pounds less boost, so you can actually get away with a 6 to 8 pound lower pulley. But Lightning wise, 4 to 6 pound lower, 4 being a little more on the safe side, 6 plenty doable, is a little more on the aggressive side of things, but you can do it with a really good tune, and a tune is required when swapping your lower pulley, as well as plugs and a MAF. You're going to upgrade your MAF to an SVT BA2600, be a good one, and you're going to want to upgrade your plugs. Most go with NGK Tr6s, gapped at 032, but I would get with whoever's going to tune the vehicle, because it's going to be their preference on what plugs they want to run. Maybe they have a MAF that they like to tune better. Always get with your tuner when it comes to those things, and you will need a tune, but the lower pulley is going to be the thing that wakes your truck up the most. These can be had for 200 bucks. Comes with a belt, pulley, that's all you need. But you definitely want to do the lower, overdoing the upper, because the lower will increase the diameter, and what that does is increase the belt surface contact for less belt slip. when you go to a smaller upper pulley, you will have more belt slip because you're decreasing the diameter that the belt touches, the surface area that the belt touches, and that's going to increase more belt slip. So definitely do a lower pulley, 4 to 6 pound for lightnings. If you have a Harley truck, you can do 6 to 8 pound lowers, and then you're going to need a tune. You can drive it around doing a pulley swap, but do not get in the boost until you get it tuned. You will blow it up. And if you do a MAF swap like you're supposed to when you up the boost with a pulley, it won't be drivable at all. You have to retune for a new MAF. So I would do it all together. I would get your pulley, your plugs, your MAF, and then let your tuner know that you're ready to go, and then just have it tuned. And then since you already did the blower port, that's also going to be accounted for in the tune, and you can really take advantage of that blower port as well. So that's the third mod I would do. Now, moving on to number 4, I would do an intake. JLP makes the truest cold air intake, but there are other options. JLT makes a good intake. K&N makes an intake. I prefer JLP because it comes in an enclosed box with a perforated lid, also pulls air from the fender, and comes with a ram air scoop that goes down to the bottom of the box, goes into the bottom, it goes down, and I have mine run into the fog light. You can run it to the bumper, to the grill, wherever you want to run it for fresh inlet of air. It pulls a lot of air. That sucker screams, and it's the most enclosed true cold air intake there is. When I'm doing anything over 5 miles an hour, my intake temperatures are right at the ambient temperature, the temperature it is outside, and that's about as good as you're gonna get. You can't really get much better than that unless you upgrade to a killer chiller or something like that. So, intake, you don't really need to tune for that. If you want to do that after you've already tuned and did your pulley and all that stuff, you can. It doesn't really require a tune. I, however, did do it all at once. That way I can account for the extra air of the intake as well, because every little bit to me counts. Not necessary though. You can totally get in, you can get the intake before if you want, and ride around with your intake for a while before you save up for the pulley and all that stuff as well. However you want to do it, but this is just the way I would do it. So, number 4, intake. JLP, like I said, is the truest cold air, and that's what I would do. So let's move on. Now that you've upped the boost and you're running more boost, that's also going to create more heat. So mod number 5, and I'm kind of putting all this in one mod, and that's going to be boost cooling mods. You're going to want to cool down that boost, because if you don't, it's basically the boost is going to increase your temperatures. Your intake temps are going to run up high, and when your intake temperatures get too high, the computer will pull timing, and depending how high it gets, it can aggressively pull timing, and it will make your truck run super slow. It'd be like almost like you did nothing. So you have to account for that extra heat and that extra boost and do some cooling mods. Now, these are the cooling mods I would do. These are the order I would do them. I would start out with a bigger intercooler tank, and basically it's going to allow you to run a lot more fluid. Has a really big cap as well, and you can pack that thing full of ice when you get to the track. You can run ice at the track. That really helps cool down your fluid. But even if you never run ice, more fluid is better because it takes longer to heat up that fluid. You can make several passes before it gets to the same temperature that it would on the stock tank. So get a bigger intercooler reservoir to hold more fluid, and then you'll want to get a upgraded heat exchanger. Now that's not under the blower, that is the intercooler. The heat exchanger is the one that's behind your front bumper. And there's a couple good units. Fluidine makes one. AFCO is the one I prefer. I went with the AFCO dual pass heat exchanger. I went ahead and opted for the fans as well. You can get them without fans. Doesn't matter too much. I got the fans because I do a lot of street driving, and that helps with sitting in traffic and low speeds. But once you're past that, it really doesn't matter. So you can do the fans with or without, doesn't matter. But go ahead and get an upgraded heat exchanger for sure. That really helps cool the fluid down. And then you'll want to delete the hard lines that go to the intercooler. Basically, those hard lines are a super restrictive setup. I think the inside of the hole is like 5/8. You want to delete the hard line setup, run some nice 3/4 inch lines, link in the description for a kit that runs really nice and hidden, but you run 3/4 inch lines to the intercooler and then to your heat exchanger, and that'll free up a lot of restriction as well. So those 3 things will have your intake temperatures nice and cool down your boost so you can keep all that timing and really take advantage of that boost increase, because without it, it's really not going to help, and you can actually hurt your motor with too high of intake temps, because the higher the intake temperature, the more chances for detonation. So definitely do some cooling mods. Don't overlook those. Don't just throw boost at it and just let it eat. Do the cooling mods, cool that boost down, and make your truck efficient as you possibly can. And I kind of lump that into one mod because all the cooling mods are really important. So bigger tank, bigger heat exchanger, delete the hard lines and run nice 3/4 inch intercooler lines, and you'll be good to go, guys. That should keep you nice and cool. So let's move on, and this is the last mod I would do, and this is really going to make a big difference, and it's often overlooked. Get a valve body for the transmission. It's really going to firm up those shifts, and by doing so, it's actually really good for your trans because there's less slippage in the clutches and it causes less heat. So valve bodies are super easy to install. You can get them for 200 bucks. Get the race version from A1. If you want to get the street version, you can. I recommend the race version just because, I mean, don't be scared of it shifting hard. It's going to feel really good. It's going to really decrease the time between shifts. It's like putting a shift kit in your old school cars or having a driver mod kind of deal. It's really going to help improve times, and it's going to really keep your transmission from getting hot. So it's a good thing to put. It's super easy to install. You just drop the pan, bolt it up, and you're good to go. So get a valve body for your trans. It's going to have your truck shifting good. Now with those mods, should put you into the 12s. Got a bolt on 12-second truck. It's going to be efficient. It's going to be safe, and that's going to have you looking pretty good for a street truck. That's going to be a pretty quick little street truck you got. A lot of people are going to ask why I didn't mention said mod. I'll go over that real quick. Throttle body, honestly, the money is better spent elsewhere. They're pretty pricey for very little gain on Eaton trucks, unless you got a built motor and you're really going to spin your Eaton. Throttle body is just really not quite worth it. The stock throttle body can flow plenty horsepower, can well over 500 horsepower, and you'd still be fine with the stock throttle body. You will pick up a little bit of throttle response, but for the money you can spend on that, it's better spent elsewhere. Get a nice set of sticky tires, maybe get a drag set of wheels or something like that. I just don't think that for the money, the throttle body is going to be where it's at until you're making bigger horsepower. So I really wouldn't worry too much about a throttle body. You don't need injectors. The stock injectors are good for 500 plus horsepower, unless they're dirty or something like that. Then I guess you could upgrade to some 60s, something like that. But they're really not needed, not necessary. Like I said, unless yours are in pretty bad shape and you're gonna need a tune. So if you do that, do it while you're tuning. Fuel pumps should also be fine, unless there's a problem with those as well. But the stock ones should flow plenty fine for the mods. Like I said, if you have a problem with your fuel pumps, maybe they're not up to par, they're old, they're nasty, whatever, now would be a good time to upgrade to Walbro 255s. Your stock fuel pumps should be fine for the mods listed. You shouldn't have to mess with it. Just make sure your fuel filter is clean, and you should be good to go. You don't really need an exhaust. The stock exhaust can actually flow fine for 500 plus horsepower as well. But if you did want to go with an exhaust, you could get a good catback. I ran MagnaFlow for years on mine, and I always was really happy with the sound, and that'll also free up some restriction. If you really want to do headers, do long tubes. Don't waste your time on shorties. There is absolutely no gain with shorties. If you're going to do any kind of long tubes, or if you're going to do any kind of headers, get long tubes. But like I said, the stock manifolds are plenty fine for that power level, and you really don't need to get into that until you're like going built motor, big horsepower kind of status. If you do long tubes, keep in mind that you will have to move the O2 sensors. You have to get the extenders, and that will require some tuning as well. So if you're going to do that, do it while you're tuning, and that way you can take advantage of the power gain from those as well. So yeah, basically these mods are going to have your truck looking pretty stout. They should have you in the low 400s horsepower to the wheels range, which is about as much as you want to do on the stock block. The rods are good for about 450 horsepower. Some get away with less, some get away with more. That's really going to vary, but you should be good on the stock block to about 450, and that's when the stock block starts, it gets a little sketchy. It's about as much as you want to push on these stock motors. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. This should have you running 12s, should have you pretty fast on the street, competing with all the local Mustangs and 5.0s. I think I had some of my funnest times when I was bolt-on status, because it was consistent, safe, and it really ran hard, guys. These mods will have you looking pretty good. So yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Make sure you leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. The full list of all these mods, as well as where you can get them, all in the description, guys, so make sure you check that out as well. Make sure you leave a like on the video, help us out. Whenever you leave a like, it really helps the video on YouTube's algorithm. So leave a like, share this video with your friends. If you're on the forums and you see a question asked that's answered here, share the video there as well. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and follow for more videos. Lots of informative videos like this, as well as our personal build on the channel. So make sure you go check out all the videos there as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next one.